to the 21st installment of ESPN Honolulu Fan Friday Top Story. I'm your host, Tiff Wells. With me today is the head coach for women's water polo here at UH. She's entering year number 10 as the head coach. Coach Maureen Cole. Coach, welcome to Top Story.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us. What sports did you play growing up?
I had two older brothers and I played a bunch of sports. My two older brothers swam in college, so I kind of followed them and got started with swimming at a really young age. I played soccer, basketball, I ran track and field, and then as it progressed, I got involved in water polo a little bit later, probably around 8th, ninth grade.
Of all those sports you just mentioned, there are a bunch of them for sure. What are some of your earliest memories of playing sports?
I think sitting at swim meets just with friends and playing cards underneath the tarp and waiting for your event all day and just hanging out and enjoying the social aspect of swimming, I guess, because that was probably the sport that dominated my time the most growing up, and just enjoying messing around with my friends and getting to work out at the same time.
How tough is it to be at a swim meet? Because like you said, you're waiting around for a while just for your race. How tough was it to just kind of wait around until your race was ready to go?
I think when you're young, you're not really thinking about it very much. Like I said, you're just kind of playing with your friends, and there might be a time or two where you weren't paying attention and you missed your race, and you're like getting reamed by your coach and getting in trouble because it passed by and you didn't even notice. But yeah, just having fun. I think that's again just what I remember the most. The friendship.
Did having that swimming background help when you got into water polo?
Oh, I wouldn't be a water polo player if I didn't have that background for sure. I think coming from Hawai'i, where maybe at that time it was still a lot of kids were starting later than they do now, but just the experience level coming from here, you don't have as much experience when you go to the mainland to play in college as others. And immediately, because I was the fastest one in the pool 99% of the time, I was looked at and noticed by other coaches. And if I didn't have that, my throwing ability and my experience wasn't there yet. So the swimming definitely helps.
Who were some of the biggest influencers or factors in getting you into water polo?
First and foremost, I would say would be the first head coach here at the University of Hawaii, Sherry Smart. She was involved with the swim club where I was growing up, at the Oahu Club in Hawaii Kai, and she pushed me to come to UH and train with some old ladies as I was 7th, 8th grade. I'd come and practice with the club that was here, and I first started learning about the sport. And then when I started the first year of water polo for women, and it was actually a trial year, and Ken Smith, who has coached many Olympians and is a huge mentor of mine, he would definitely be the number one influencer, and just me getting passionate about the sport, loving it, and staying involved.
When did you know that water polo was going to be the sport for you going to college?
I want to say it was probably my sophomore year. At that time, I was still swimming year-round, and I had this goal of making what was called junior national cuts at the time. And I remember training for that high school state championships and me getting the time. I was like, I get to go to the swim meet. I've been training so hard my whole life. I went to it. I think the next week, I was like, I'm done with year-round swimming. I'm going to start focusing on water polo. I love the sport and the team aspect of it. And then I started managing the high school boys and playing in the fall, and then also having the high school season for myself in the spring. And I still kept swimming though the whole time. It was just more of a training so I could play water polo, not as much racing.
It is February as we record this, and of course that means for your alma mater, Punahou, it's the Punahou Carnival. What's your favorite food, or what's maybe the one or two things you remember most about the carnival?
You gotta love the malasadas. Definitely, that would be my number one go-to. And again, just running around. I mean, I didn't start at Polo until high school, but just helping out with the carnival and going around with your friends and working it together. It's some good times.
when you're on the deck at the pool and you see the team hanging out and being basically big sisters to your two children, talking about Van Zant and Clover, how does that make you feel as a mom, but also as a head coach?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that? You cut out for a sec.
Oh, sorry about that. So when you're on the deck with the team and you see the players you coach, you see them being big sisters to your son and daughter, talking about Van Zant and Clover, how does that make you feel, not just as a head coach, but also as a mom?
You know, my players are awesome. They honestly don't see my kids too much. I keep them off the deck for the most part, but when they do run on occasionally, just the reception that the girls give them, it's awesome. And I just think, you know, just to be a woman and be able to be a head coach and a mother in this competitive world of NCAA sports, I really look at myself and the girls as just role models for the kids in terms of you can do this, you can work and coach and travel and do all these things and still have a family and do everything pretty well. Thanks to an amazing husband that helps support.
What led you to choose and play at UCLA for your collegiate career?
Some brainwashing by Ken Smith. No. I had always grown up thinking I was going to go to Stanford and swim. I think that was just something with Janet Evans and growing up and not being exposed to water polo yet. That was kind of a goal. But as I started high school, like I said, I started playing water polo, and Ken Smith just had this pipeline to UCLA. He had produced so many Olympians and first team All-Americans, and they seemed to mostly all go there. And so that really is what got me interested in this school at first. And then just the coaches that were there at the time and my motivations for trying to make the Olympics and put myself in position to be able to have that as a real goal. It just made a lot of sense. And I mean, UCLA is a great program. John Wooden is one of my all-time favorites. I've read so many books of his. I mean, it's just a really cool place to go.
Now, not many athletes experience a rivalry, but you being an alumna of UCLA, of course, you were in one of what is considered to be arguably the biggest rivalry in all of collegiate sports. We're talking UCLA-USC. Did you know much about it before you went to be a Bruin?
Not much, but man, do you feel it when you get there.
Was it pretty much considered a good season when you beat USC?
I mean, a good season, definitely. We wanted to win a championship at UCLA, and we're fortunate enough to do that. But that was the big game, and just the amount of emotion that goes into that game. As a coach now, you try to teach players to be as level-headed and consistent as possible, but just that extra oomph you have going to that game and the fire in the coach's eyes and everything, there's just so much on the line. It was taking a step back, I think of Hawaii as kind of Switzerland. Like, everyone likes us. We're just nice people. We live in this beautiful place. We compete hard, but there, you know, now I look at it, I'm like, that was unhealthy. Thinking about how seriously we took it, but yeah, there was some definite emotion involved in those games.
Did that change how you trained, how the team trained, knowing that week you were going to be playing your rival?
I think the training is consistent throughout. I mean, when you're trying to be the best, you just got to do your best every single day, and just knowing the heightened sense of kind of what it means to the program, and getting that W is huge. But the way you prepare, I think, is always the same, whether you're playing USC or the number 50th team in the country.
What is there a common misconception about the game of water polo?
That it's on horses. I think that's the most common joke, but I think everyone who knows anything about the sport knows it's just so physical. It's a really tough sport to play, and I think that's agreed upon by coaches from a plethora of different sports. Is you've got to be able to swim and wrestle and shoot and go up and down the court, when you're not standing on the ground, and it just takes an immense amount of preparation, a lot of practice time to have your body and the tactics and everything prepared to play well. So it's just that toughness.
You talk about toughness, and for us as fans, whether we see it live in person or on TV, we really only see what goes on above the surface of the water. Just what exactly goes on underneath the water during a match?
Whatever the ref doesn't see doesn't count. So, you know, I'd say at a high level, you're just trying to gain an advantage positionally. So a lot of times that involves grabbing suit mostly to try to create an advantage. Um, as I'd say the water polo IQ goes down. I think there's maybe almost sometimes more grabbing because people just don't really know how to use it to their advantage yet. But at this level, I mean, it's physical, but you also know how to protect yourself. And so things can be done to make sure if someone does something that you don't like, to make sure they don't do it again. But yeah, I'd say just the suit grabbing for positional advantage is happens a lot. And now the suits are so much better than when I played. We have the zip up suits now where it's not a lot of exposure, but back in the day, I mean, you just didn't have that. And so it was a little bit different of a sport.
When you played, what was your favorite position? And now as a head coach in your system, what is maybe the most difficult position to be?
My favorite position to play was on the right-hand side of the pool, which is typically, I'm not left-handed, but where the left-handers play because of the shooting angle. And I was not a notorious scorer, but I could always find space, and I just loved the assists. And then just matching up and playing defense. I think that was my favorite role as a player, was just matching up on the team's leading scorer, attacker, and trying to shut them down. And I found a lot of pleasure in being able to do that and do that job well. But the hardest position that I definitely could never play and wouldn't be able to do it well is the center position, which is where Lalale Matafa plays currently on our team, and Carmen Baringo. And that's just like in basketball, the person right in front of the cage, in front of the net at about 2 meters from the goal. And usually this is a stronger, bigger, more explosive player that can, again, just one-on-one tool the other person and generate some sort of zone by their positioning. And it just takes a long time to really master those skills to be able to do it well. And then it takes a special type of athlete to be able to swim up and down the pool and have those skills as a bigger player. It's really tough to do. We're fortunate to have a few really good players.
You were a 3-time national champ at UCLA. You talked about, the fact of John Wood and just the legendary coaches at UCLA. Just what made your teams so good when you were a player at UCLA?
I think what I look for now, and that's just competitive fire. I think my coach at UCLA was now the USA national team coach, and he's won 2 gold medals. And he came in as head coach when I was at UCLA, and he was straight out of college. He was super young, and he'd probably be the first one to tell you, he's learned and grown a lot since then. But one thing that just sticks out to me is his fire and how he could ignite all of us to rally and just be so competitive. And the practices were that way. And I really think that mental toughness that we generated from just going at it every day in practice really helped us be successful with winning national championships. And I think that we really have that going on now at UH, which is awesome. It's taken a while to grow, but I just think that the type of athletes that I've been able to identify now, they love to compete, and to not shy away from that, I think really can elevate, because everyone works hard, right? In college, you're limited by your hours, you have so much time, everyone's doing that, but what is that X factor that's going to really help escalate your team? And I think not shying away from competition is definitely one of them.
Last one here before we take our break, Coach. You talk about your coach at UCLA, Adam Krikorian. I hope I got that right. When you told him that you were going to be a coach after you played, what was maybe the most important piece of advice you took away from your conversation with him?
I don't recall, to be honest, a conversation. I just feel like I call him almost once a month or every other week asking him for advice. I'd say just from watching him, wasn't necessarily a conversation, but just the growth and the ability to adapt and change, because what works one year, you've got to just continue to learn and grow. And I've just watched him through his career. And again, the person he was in 2000 is not the coach he is today. And I think he's evolved a lot. And just watching that has really helped me just keep that perspective and just continuing to learn and continue to grow.
Coach, we do need to take a break right here, so stay right there. Along with UH Women's Water Polo head coach Maureen Cole, I'm Tiff Wells. You're listening to ESPN Honolulu Fan Friday Top Story. Welcome back to ESPN Honolulu Fan Friday Talk Story. I'm Tiff Wells with UH Women's Water Polo head coach Maureen Cole. Now, Coach, you also played with the junior national team. You were with the senior national team squad with the U.S. Water Polo squad in the early 2000s. With that experience, what did you take away from that?
I think with that experience, being a part of the senior team, the biggest part is to just go for your dreams. I think no matter how much of a chance you got, and whether you make it at the end of the day or you don't, you do everything you can. And then just having that, as John Wooden would say, that peace of mind of doing the best that you possibly can. And I learned a lot playing with those players, some of the best players in the world at the time. And it was an amazing experience. And I came in and I was one of 15 girls, and 13 made the Olympics. And I was a long shot. I kind of came in late, but had a shot at it. Had to take a year off of school to be able to get to train and do all that. And I think at the end of the day, just knowing that you can put your whole heart into something, and it doesn't mean that you're going to make it, but just being able to live with yourself because that you did everything you could. And I feel like I did that, and just moving forward from there. But life doesn't always turn out the way you want it. But that builds strength and, character. And I feel like it's helped me move forward since then.
You were an assistant with the Wahine program before taking over as head coach prior to the 2012 season, where now you're in your 10th year. What's been maybe a couple of the biggest takeaways from you? What are you the most proud of so far in your tenure here as the head coach?
I think what I'm most proud of is just truly the ohana we've built within the team. I mean, I love water polo, and coaching the X's and O's is fun, but seeing, girls come in here and then having, 5 or 6 girls getting together every year for a wedding or something, and just the lifelong friendships that people have built, and the growth, watching someone from their first day of school to when they go to graduation. It's, just the confidence that comes along with playing Division I water polo and being a part of this program. I definitely see that in each person through their process here. And the first day, back before COVID, when we'd have individual meetings all the time in the office, and you'd see the first meeting and someone's cowering and they're scared and their shoulders are back and everything. And they're just intimidated, maybe a little by me. I don't know why. But just being able to have confidence, and by, year 2 or year 3 or meeting 3 or meeting 4, and just having someone become comfortable and being able to speak their mind and own what their beliefs are. And I really preach that. And I just see that from each individual, from one to the next. And that's really my favorite thing about coaching.
2018, it's the Big West Conference Championship. You guys take on Irvine. It was a tough, devastating loss in overtime to the Anteaters. What did you take away from that team going into 2019? And did that motivate the group going into that 2019 season?
Oh, that's still a heartbreaker. Just thinking about that game. I mean, I must have watched that game 100 times. And I think that the girls on the team who are part of that game, I think, we had beaten Irvine, dominated them in the first game that we played, the conference game, and we went in and we were on fire, and the game just changed, and our ability to adapt and make things happen in that championship just didn't happen that day. And that particular group that were juniors at the time, they had gone through, and that would have been the first group that joined us since we joined the Big West that wouldn't have won a championship. And they came in their senior year and they were motivated, and they knew what that felt like. And I think that loss definitely propelled them to playing again with confidence and just having that whatever it takes, we're not going to lose the game. We've been through that once before. We're going to find a way. And they were able to fortunately do that the following year.
And that following year, we're talking about 2019, you made a pretty gutsy move at halftime in that conference championship in that game in the tournament against Irvine. At halftime, what's going through your mind? Because you have two really good goalkeepers, but what led you to make that big change at halftime?
I think at the time, again, we were splitting time most of the year. So both goalies had a lot of experience in the cage, and switching at that point in time, it wasn't like a scary thing to be putting in someone that hadn't played the entire season. They had pretty much split time. And, sometimes it's not a certain goalie's day. And I just think there was a couple saves that maybe could have been made, and a change would maybe change the momentum of the game. And I just kind of went with gut. And it fortunately ended up working out.
2020, it's been different. It was different. Your team was 11-2. You guys were in the top 6 in the country. And you folks are in San Diego getting ready to take on the Tritons to begin Big West Conference play. You get the phone call, match canceled, season canceled. When you broke the news to the team, what was that feeling like?
I really just think about immediately, the heartbreak of our one senior, Jedi, who, definitely was going to be graduating, and just her not being able to have her senior night and play that last season. So first and foremost, I think the whole team kind of felt for her. And yes, we were having a really successful season. We would have loved to see how it could have gone. But it just, it was just kind of chaotic at that point in time. New information coming in every day with the NBA being canceled, and then this, and it kind of was slowly progressing where, as coaches, we're always just trying to figure out the solution. So at first it was, the San Diego game's canceled. Well, SC's up the road and they can play us. So are we going to go drive up there and scrimmage? That's what I'm honestly thinking at the time, because we really didn't understand. And then slowly things, it's almost easier to handle in a way if it doesn't all happen at once. And I felt like it was kind of little blow by little blow that kind of got us to where our season was canceled. And then at that time it made sense. And so you just, again, feel for the girls that weren't going to be able to come back and experience and have an opportunity at a championship, and just those fun moments again with the players throughout the season, because we were really just starting our conference play. So we had a long way to go.
There's nothing in the coach's manual that says this is what you do when a global pandemic hits, how you work things together, work things out with your team. But not only having to worry about you as a mom with your kids and your family with your husband, but also having to work with the team and all the girls that you're responsible for as the head coach. How did you stay mentally focused and just stick to it to keep everybody together?
I think taking it one day at a time is really what we did at that point in the pandemic. Was, everyone has handled their emotions and their anxiety and how they feel differently. So it's just trying to continuously respect how each individual feels and trying to help them come to the best decisions for them and for our program moving forward. We've had girls that have opted out this season, and girls who have gone back to school in their home countries, and girls that are taking time off to play professionally and we'll be back next fall. Like, it's just across the spectrum. Every person is different in what's best for them. And it's just hopefully having, trying to put the time in beforehand that have relationships. I've built relationships with all these girls, and really trying to think about what's best for them, at the same time thinking about what's best for the program and talking that through and figuring problem by problem out and just solving them. And really that's what we've done and what I'm trying to continue to do.
When you travel with the team, and there's a lot there, and you guys log a lot of air miles, as all Hawaii teams do year in and year out. When you check in your bag, or what, sorry, not when you check in your bag, when you carry on your bag, what are maybe 2 or 3 things that you must have in your carry-on for that 5-hour plus flight?
Gotta have my cell phone. And then I would say video. I gotta make sure I have my hard drive so I can watch video and prep and do. I watch a video a lot on the plane, just getting ready for whoever we're playing and doing the analysis. So that's the go-tos. And socks and shoes. I'm always cold on the plane.
If you have an off day, and I'm sure there's not many of them, whether you're in season or not, but if you do have an off day, how do you choose to spend it?
With my family. And I'd say since COVID, as probably half of this island, I've rediscovered my love for surfing. And my youngest son has also really gotten into it. So if I can go surfing with him and my husband and my little girl, that's a good day.
This past January, the Big West announced that spring sports could return to action with protocols in place and scheduling to happen in the next few weeks. Well, your guys' schedule came out just yesterday, in fact. So we're recording this on Wednesday, came out on Tuesday. An 11-match regular season. What are some of your biggest takeaways when you look at this schedule?
I am looking at it as just an opportunity for us to get back and compete again. We'll pretty much be full circle in that a year ago, we talked earlier about our game getting canceled at UC San Diego, right about to start the conference. And it's almost like, imagine the last year didn't happen because our first game is at UCSD in our conference game. So we haven't played in such a long time, and this is a very different group than we had a year ago. So it's just getting the experience and getting them in the water competing in preparation to hopefully be a part of the Big West Championships the first weekend of May, and putting ourselves in position to win another championship.
Prior to last March, did you know what Zoom was? And are you good at Zoom now?
I definitely did not know Zoom. And if any of my water polo girls are watching this or ever watch this, I am not a tech person. The TikTok and this and that, I try to steer away from all of this. But I can send out a Zoom link. I definitely can do that at this point in time.
Last April, Hawaii Athletics released a series called Bo's Kitchen. Coaches, players took part, sharing their favorite recipe. If you were asked to take part, what is the one recipe that you would show us how to make?
This is so funny. I do almost absolutely no cooking. My husband does it all. But if I had to, I'm a baker. So I do oatmeal chocolate chip cookies. I'd say that was the one thing I baked a lot of during COVID.
Cookies sound very good right now. Coach, last one here. What's been the toughest aspect of recruiting during a pandemic? Because you do have a very international roster, but when you add in COVID, what's been the toughest part of recruiting?
I think the toughest part is definitely what I talked about earlier, is just identifying who the competitors are. And a lot of times when you're at an event where you're a tournament and you're seeing the same player play 4 or 5 times, you get a really good picture of who they are in big moments and how they treat their teammates and what they do and just their body language. And I think that is definitely something that's really important to culture and in recruiting, and how to rely a lot more on speaking to coaches to get that rather than getting a good picture of it myself, being able to watch that, because you don't get that in video that's sent to you.
If you had a message for the fan base out there, what would you like to tell them?
Just thank you for all the support to Hawaii Athletics. You know, it means so much. Our team really does play for the state of Hawaii and looks forward to the day again where we can fill the stands, and so excited for that moment. But while we're waiting for that, just thank you for your continued support. They're why we're here.
Coach, this has been so much fun. We really appreciate the time you've given us today. Thank you so much, and best of luck to you and the girls coming here in 2021.
Thank you so much. Go Bows.
For Coach Maureen Cole and the rest of us here at ESPN Honolulu, I'm Tiff Wells saying thank you so much for joining us here on the 21st edition of ESPN Honolulu Fan Friday Talk Story. Until next time, wear that mask, be safe, and stay socially distant.